Good. Here we are. I think that we can start. So, welcome to my session at the Global Power Platform Bootcamp 2023. It's a pleasure for me to be here for a lot of reasons. First of all, probably because they will be like the last session, because I think that soon artificial intelligence can provide better session than us. But I just want to introduce a little bit myself. My name is Marco Farina. I'm a Microsoft MVP on business applications since 2017, so some years. And I have a strong focus on Dynamics 365 CRM and I mean, in general, what is around a CRM. But I have also like competence in general overall topics from strategy, architecture, and development. Just to understand if we can interact a little bit, because usually I don't like too much the online session where I can't see people in front of me. So in order to be sure that, I mean, you are not sleeping, chat is turned off. So we don't have any way to interact. This is not good. Okay, I just want to see if you have any kind of experience with Chat GPT. Did you hear about it? Did you try it? So I can shape a little bit more the presentation. But if I don't have any kind of a feedback, I will try to guess which is the average level of the people in front of me. Here you can find my information related to me. So my email, if you want to write to me for an additional question or to investigate some feature, don't hesitate to write me. This is my account, Twitter account, and this is the website when you can see articles related to Power Platform and artificial intelligence. What we are going to see today is like an overall introduction about Chat GPT. This is important because, I mean, it's not a new technology. We are working on it since like more than 2 years, but a lot of people are trying to use it. The adoption is growing a lot in the last month. But I think that it's important to, let's say, at the beginning, provide some input in order to clarify what a Chat GPT is. Then we will see how it's possible to leverage a Chat GPT in order to accelerate the functionality and to, let's say, integrate it in Power Apps and create an amazing user experience for your end user. And then a great part of our session will be a live demo where we have the possibility to see in practice ChatGPT with a Power Platform. Good. So starting from the beginning, I think that it's really important to clarify what ChatGPT is, what is behind, because when there is like so disruptive technology, it's really important to have fundamentals. Otherwise, you don't really understand the potentiality behind the technology, and probably you can't benefit from it in the right way. So everything started with OpenAI, that is a not-profit company with the goal to create research on artificial intelligence. It was founded in 2015 by Elon Musk and other investors. So as you can understand, when there is Elon Musk behind, usually there are interesting things on the table. And the goal of OpenAI was to research on different areas of artificial intelligence, machine learning, computer vision, natural language processing. And in general, all the new company tried to position themselves also in a practice in order to manage responsibility for the use and development of AI. No, I mean, it's not easy to understand where is marketing and where is a real goal of a company, but at the end of the story, also OpenAI has this goal in their mission. GPT-3, so I've seen a lot of confusion, like people that call it a Chat GPT-3. Chat GPT-3 does not exist. Exists GPT-3, that is a model, is a state-of-the-art language model developed by OpenAI, and exists a ChatGPT that is a tool that gives the possibility to an end user to interact with this model. Okay, GPT-3, as we will see soon in the next slide, as it was trained on a massive amount of data. That's why it's like so accurate in its work. I don't know how to call it his work, but it's very accurate, and is considered now the most advanced language model in the market. Another important point, because a lot of people are speaking about Microsoft and GPT-3, GPT-3 is closed source, as Microsoft has licensed it is exclusive use and has invested like 10 billion in the last months. When people ask to me what GPT-3 is machine learning, is deep learning, what is, the response is not easy. Because behind GPT-3, there are a lot of technologies. There is deep learning. OpenAI uses deep learning networks for many of its projects. There is a machine learning behind, because for sure when you have to interact with such a huge amount of data, it's important to use also machine learning. And in this case, it's unsupervised learning. And there are generative models behind. In general, generative adversarial networks are two neural networks that try to cheat each other in order to grow and to reach the result. And there are other few models behind. But I think it's not interesting in this session, because we want to see how to use from an end user point of view this technology. What is important to know from an end user point of view is what GPT-3 is able to do in terms of capabilities. This is a representation, a graph that gives you the possibility to compare the power of the different models in the market. A very well-known model is BERT from Google. And in these graphics, we can see the number of parameters related to these models. As you can see, with BERT, we have 110 million of parameters. And with GPT-3, we reached 100 billion parameters. Okay, so it's like more than 1,000 times the parameter used by BERT. And this is for sure, this is like why GPT-3 is so accurate in order to provide responses to your question. But when I say why is it so accurate in order to provide a response to your question, we have to understand what GPT-3 is able to do. Which question? In order to reply to this question, we can see that GPT-3 has been trained on a lot of stuff. So it has been trained on common crawl filtered. Okay, so there is like more or less whole internet behind. Web text 2, books 1 and books 2 from Google, and Wikipedia, and also Reddit with like a link with a score more than 4. So it means that more or less GPT-3 knows everything. Okay, it's not like this, but we can use this assumption that knows everything that is public. But as you can see, the weight of 60% is related to a common crawl. Okay, so common crawl is a web text based on a link of Reddit with a score of 3 or more. People are really interested in GPT-3. I'm receiving a lot of messages from, let's say, people that I know that asked me, we want to know how to invest in this kind of technology. Because also people that are not directly exposed to artificial intelligence in general, they understand that there is a huge potential behind, not only for what GPT-3 is able to do now, but for what OpenAI, but in general, all the company in this kind of research will be able to do in the near future. we understand that GPT-3 is like a game changer in the market. I'm 42. I worked in the IT, since 30 years more or less, and I can understand that based on my experience, I've never seen in the market something that is so disruptive in terms of general adoption in the world. And if we compare to what is promised by, it's not promised, they are also rumors, but in terms of potentiality in the next version of GPT-3 models, we can really understand that this is something that will disrupt every sector. And if we want to understand how Microsoft will leverage this technology, it's like in a very different scenarios. I think that it will impact IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS technology altogether. Already today, we have possibility to consume GPT-3 in a different way. For example, using OpenAI services in Azure. We have the possibility already today to consume some models directly from PowerPlatform. And for sure, we have to consider that in the infrastructure as a service part, the hardware used in order to run GPT-3 is built by a partnership between Microsoft and OpenAI. So I'm quite sure that also from an infrastructure as a service point of view, we will see something interesting in the near future. Is there any way to open the chat? No, it's impossible. This is a question for the organizers. No, there is no possibility to interact with the organizer as well. It's not a problem, you can go ahead. So now I don't want to waste too much time in order to understand how to integrate ChatGPT with Power App, but in general to consume GPT-3 with Power App. I don't want to waste too much time into the theory because I want to show you the demo. Why? Because at the end of the story, the only limitation that you have into integration of GPT-3, but in general, all the OpenAI models in PowerPlatform is your fantasy, okay? Already today, the potentiality that you have are amazing and impressive. So it's like only an exercise in order to understand how to build a use case. So at the end of the story, the only thing that you have to keep in mind in order to integrate GPT-3, but the models with Power App are these 4 steps. The first one is you have to collect some inputs, okay? Because exactly as a standard interaction between a human and ChatGPT, you type your keyboard. In this case, you have to collect the information, the inputs that you want to provide to the model. The second important step, logical step that you have to take in consideration is authentication. As we have seen, OpenAI is like a company that provides services like ChatGPT that can be consumed by human, but also services that can be consumed by machine. So you have some API that are exposed and that you can consume. But for sure, you must authenticate in order to use these API. And we will see soon how. Then, as soon as you are authenticated, you can submit your message. When you submit your message, you have to take in consideration that for sure you need to take in consideration that the inputs that you collect, but also you have in some way to provide some instruction to the API in order to understand which model you want to use, because everybody today speaks about GPT-3, but as we can see, there are other models that can be used. For example, when you call GPT-3, you can use a Da Vinci model, you can use Curie model, Babbage model, or Ada model, and all of these models have different capabilities in terms not only on let's say, capability in order to provide some functionalities, but also in order to understand the price of these models. Because everything in OpenAI, and we will see soon inside our demo, is based on the concept of tokens. So when you submit your message to OpenAI, to the API, you have to take in consideration that you are consuming some token, okay? And also with the response that you will receive from OpenAI, you are consuming other tokens. So not in the short term, because everybody are interested in in order to use the technology, understand the business model, the use case, and so on. But in the, let's say, medium term, you should also consider the point of money. So how much do you spend in order to receive a response for this kind of technology? Okay, and that's why it's important to use the right model, because if you always use like the most advanced model, but this model is so expensive in order to perform a very basic task, in some way you are building an not efficient way to consume AI. Okay, that's why it's important to provide inside your message your input, but also some instruction about the model that you want to use. Then the last point is to collect the result of the API and to present the result to whatever is your interface. We will see soon that I have decided to consume OpenAI in Microsoft Teams, but you can consume OpenAI in Power App, in a standard model-driven or kind of application. You can consume OpenAI inside Power Page, you can consume inside Power BI, for example, if you want support in order to better understand some figures or to provide some input. You can consume in Dynamics, OpenAI. So it's like only your imagination. The limit is your imagination. Oh, we have also the chat now. Thank you very much. So do you have any questions so far? Let's do it in this way. Write into the chat so I can be sure not to speak with like a black wall, but there is someone behind. Did you already have the chance to test ChatGPT or to interact with GPT-3 with any kind of API? Just write into the chat. Yes, good. One response. It's interesting. Good. ChatGPT, or did you try also GPT-3? Not by API. So we will see soon the API. They are very easy. It's like, I mean, I have already completed the demo, but if you have to arrange the demo, it's like 15 minutes of work. Okay, great. Thank you, guys. It's important for me to have a feedback because sometimes it's a little bit like not the best scenario to speak in front of just a monitor. Good. So let me share my screen so we can see the demo. Close this one, and go ahead. Okay, here we are. Sorry for that, just a moment. Yeah. So this is make.powerapps.com. It's like the standard development environment of a Power Platform. As you can see here, I am in our default environment. I should not use it, but it's like I had not so much time. And my goal today is to, as I said before, to create this kind of experience. So I'm inside our company Teams. This is like a standard team with a standard channel, a general channel. What you are able to do now is to create a message like I did here. I just asked, is a good practice to make a test 1 hour before a demo? And here, this is the response from GPT-3. Okay, so the idea is I already created the message. Why? Because now I can submit another message, but you have to understand that today OpenAI is under pressure. It means that they have a lot of requests, and also if I have a premium account, sometimes the reaction time is not so good. So it's possible that you have also to wait, like with the API, 1 or 2 minutes in order to receive the response. So I will submit another query, and yeah, we will wait for the result while I will show to you the implementation. So like, is a good idea to arrange a technical session online. And then we have just to wait for the response of OpenAI. I will remove my teams, so we can go ahead here. As I said to you, the idea is to have a cloud flow. So here we are in our cloud flow. I created a new flow, a new cloud flow named AI suggestion. And if we go inside edit mode, we can see all the steps that I have done in order to consume GPT-3 inside my Microsoft Teams. So first of all, you have to use a step that is when a new channel message is added. It's not so rocket science. So it's like you just have to specify your team and to specify your channel. Okay, it's very easy to do. Authentication is already managed by PowerPlatform with the person, the user that is logged in, so no problem. And yeah, then you have to use a step get message detail. Is a step that just collect the message that you write inside Microsoft Teams. So here in this case, we want to get the output of the message. So considering the message ID of the previous step, we want to collect the text of the message. Okay, so these are very basic operations. As soon as we have this information, this is the most interesting part, we have to consume the API of OpenAI. How can we do that? So first of all, we should specify the method. In this case, I want to work with a post method. And then the next step is to jump inside OpenAI. So inside OpenAI, if you log in, you can access to the documentation area. The documentation area has a lot of sections on the left. You just have to go inside API reference. Under API reference, if you go in introduction, you have like an overview how to consume API. In this case, you can use you can decide to use Python, but also other tool. But the most important things is that, as I said to you before, we have to provide authentication. How can we do that? So inside the authentication part here in the header, you have to, let's say, provide this kind of information. Okay, so this is not like the best approach for them to call it authorization, because they should call authentication, but is authorization. The 2 points, bearer, and then you have to specify your API key. Where you can find your API key is very easy. Inside OpenAI, you can press View API Keys. And then here, for example, I have already generated 2 keys. You can just create a new key and copy the key. Okay, I don't do that because I have already my key inside my flow. As soon as you have your key, you can jump back inside your HTTP request, and then you can paste your key here. Okay, So the first step is to set the headers with authorization. Then you have to write bearer, and then to specify the key that you have just copied from your API key generator. Okay, this is the first step. Then, if we go inside documentation and inside making request, here you have like an example on how you can perform a request to OpenAI. Okay, so the first step is to provide the URL that you can pass here. Then you have to specify for sure the content type. Okay, in this case we are using JSON. Okay, so application JSON you can pass here. And then the let's say more interesting part is what I've said to you before. Okay, what we have to provide to the API is like the model, so you can just copy this part. Here you have the example of the models that are available. As I said to you, there are a lot of models already available. And in this case, I want to use DaVinci. DaVinci is the most advanced model, also the most expensive model. I have to provide the message. In this case, is the body of the previous step. Okay, so it's the body of my message. Then I have to specify the temperature. Temperature is like an indicator of the accuracy. In this case, when I set 0, I want that OpenAI will provide to me a feedback with the maximum accuracy. Okay, I'm not. I don't want to accept like a not accurate response from OpenAI. Okay, you can evaluate this temperature according to the task that you ask to OpenAI. Then this is the most important things, is the max tokens that you will provide to OpenAI. In this case, I set 4,000. 4,000 is the maximum level of tokens that you can provide to OpenAI. Consider that usually a token is like there is inside documentation you can go through, but more or less as indicator, you have to consider that one token is 0.7 words. Okay, so this is an information that you have to take in consideration, because after the first step of OpenAI, in this case of the API, is to convert your messaging token that can be consumed by the AI that is behind. Okay, so the first step is take your message, convert in token, and the token will be provided to the artificial intelligence inside in order to, let's say, go through the layers. Okay. Then, as soon as you provide with this HTTP request, this post request to the API, you just have to parse the JSON that you receive. Okay, this is the body of the previous message of the HTTP request. And then this is the schema. This is just a simple schema that I got from a previous request to OpenAI. Okay, you can just pass or generate the JSON schema from a request to OpenAI. As soon as you have your request from OpenAI, what you have to do is like to reply. So for each choice of the previous one, you have to reply inside the channel with the message ID that you have collected here. So you have to reply to the same message. It's interesting because I didn't receive yet the response. No, we have the message. Okay, and then you can insert your text here. Okay, so this text is the text that you received from OpenAI. You just have to save your flow, and it will be immediately up and running inside your environment. In this case, the default environment. It means that it will collect all the requests. And if we go here, we have, for example, the response from OpenAI. You can perform several requests, and then you have your feedback here. Okay. Just let me switch. Okay. So we are at the end of the session. It's a very short session. I'm not expect to provide like a huge information to you, but for sure we want to thank the sponsor. And do you have any question? I mean, probably we will not have time in order to go inside, but you can write it to me. Please remember to, let's say, provide a feedback, and you have also the opportunity to join the Power Platform conference in Dublin, and also to win a ticket for the conference.